So I'm telling you a short story of crowdfunding. So maybe in the beginning you could indicate with your hand who has A, heard of crowdfunding, B, used crowdfunding for their project, okay, a couple of hands, and C, given money to the project or invested in the project. Okay, there's a couple of more hands. Okay, so you know a bit, but maybe I'll tell a kind of overall story of why I'm here and why I'm telling this. So first of all, one kind of statistical graph from Google Analytics or Google Trends, where you can see the term crowdfunding appearing on the map on about 2009 and then going upwards from there. And the other one, the blue one, is the Google equity crowdfunding. Same thing starting in 2011. So equity is basically like companies crowdfunding or giving shares for crowdfunding. So they are relatively new, although kind of gathering money for the project is obviously like thousands of years old. But as a kind of platform or doing this as a like standardized way is quite new. And why is it quite new? It's the kind of short answer is or part of the answer is here. This is the Oxford Internet Analytics view of the world as how many internet users per country there are. So basically the country sizes are twisted for the user base, and there is in the country, in the internet. And if you look this picture like, I don't know, 10 years ago, the bloated parts would be only the US and Europe. So now it has distributed more widely in the East Asia and Africa as well. So look at the China compared to this little line on top of that, which is Russia, for example. And so that's the reason that this kind of internet, social media, and things have penetrated enough population that these kind of things make sense. Because the technical things were here also in 90s, but nobody used them in such a way. And there's other trends as well, but I don't go too deeply in that. So one of the first, probably the most known brand is Kickstarter, although it wasn't the first. Actually, Indiegogo was older a bit, but they are the kind of the most well-known rewards type, where you give money and get like some kind of as a donation and get back some kind of goodie from the project or some kind of reward. So that's the reason why they're called the rewards type crowdfunding. And they started in 2009. And they were kind of pretty simple model. They started with making a couple of book projects, and it became so popular, I mean Kickstarter, as that they kind of expanded it, and now they are the kind of best known brand of crowdfunding. And we thought it here as well that we need to do something like that. So in 2011 we started doing kind of Estonian rewards crowdfunding platform called Hooandja. It's kind of means in Estonian like somebody who gives boost or somebody who gives energy. And why we did it for the Estonian market was that there was lots of kind of creative projects, cultural, musical, so on, which were kind of language specific or country specific. So you needed to kind of reach the target audience who were like Estonian language speakers, for example. And you couldn't put the project up in, let's say, Kickstarter or some kind of other platform. And so there was a need for that. So people told that hey, this doesn't work. The Estonians don't like to give money. So we thought that we might prove them wrong, and that's exactly what happened. So in the first couple of months, we gathered about 65,000 euros for the first projects, and these are the first 100 projects. We made like a 100 project anniversary graph of these bubbles showing the projects. And the colors are the types of projects produced, like the oranges are books, the pink one is the TEDx conference, for example, and the blue ones are records and music and concerts like this one. And the size of this edge shows how much more money they got than they asked for. And so this our title of that is from the fire hose to submarine. And why from fire hose to submarine? Because one of the first projects was like remaking project of using old fire hoses and making laptop bags out of them and other bags. So they were the first to get funding, and the submarine is somewhere here. This is the submarine. The submarine was again the replica submarine from the 19th century, the Captain Nemo style submarine that was built in the harbor. Yeah. So and the one thing that also turned out that it wasn't only the kind of Estonian specific project. So this is how the site looks currently. For example, this is one satellite project, our first space project in here. But we also have projects from other places. This is the currently Geographical Distribution, and we have funded to now about 2 million euros worth of projects in the last 4+ years. So that's the reason why we start doing it. And the geographical distribution as well. So the geographical distribution is not only Estonia, it has currently been about 188 countries. So except for the Central Africa and North Korea, where there's kind of small lack of machines, there's about 5 computers with access to internet there. So we have covered most of the globe, and the reason is A, the expats of Estonia, the Estonian diaspora around the world, and second, because we have projects in English and Russian as well, as obviously the English and Russian language speakers who like the projects. And second, from that is, for example, this was the first computer or like educational game project that was made in, they call the Arbits, is this kind of the reading book. And this is, they got raised about 3,000 euros to make their kind of project out of it. So they did kind of 3D animation and stuff, and they had kind of different levels of execution. I think this is actually one good idea that you should keep in mind when making a rewards project, that you can make the kind of different levels of what you want to reach. So there's like one minimal level when the project is successful, but you have kind of additional stretch goals that you set many of them rather than one, and you communicate them out when one is passed. So what comes to the projects, we have currently advised about 1,000 projects, and we have funded, actually it's an interesting question. What do you think, what is the percentage of successful projects out of all of them that have been up in the site? Given number, percentage? 40, 10, 8, 10, 5. Okay, successful 5 or failed 5. Okay, so all of them are quite off the ballpark. Actually, the successful ones have been 71% approximately. So 2/3 succeed, 1/3 fails. And there's different reasons for that, and it's one of the highest rankings. I think the Iceland one is was 73%. So the reason is, A, we don't have too many projects at the same time at the site, so each of them get attention. B, we reject some projects, or basically we negotiate with them to make them better before they go live. And third is that we put more work into the projects than, let's say, Kickstarter or some other big platform puts, because they have, let's say, 1,000 projects live, so obviously they can't do much with them. So it's up to you how much you communicate it. So we also boost them in our channels. So that's one of the reasons. So currently we have funded 628 projects in here, and we have about 1.2 million visitors who have looked at the site. So, one sec. So and by the way, if you have any questions, so interrupt me and ask them before I move on to next things. Maybe you forget them later. So this is the geographical distribution. This is one interesting graph from the Crowdfunding Hub, who is monitoring the activity of crowdfunding in different European countries. And they are ranking them based on how much action is happening, how much different platforms, and so on, how the legal system is working. And Estonia ranks, the UK, Netherlands, France are the first, and Estonia is the fourth. And that's because of the volume per capita and all other aspects, which is usually in the funding sector. Estonia tends to rank low in the Europe, but in the crowdfunding, it's one of the top ones. And if there's one, if you are more interested in kind of the background of the story, you can check the Cambridge report. The Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance made a report last October, which is this graph is part of it. So basically they analyzed all the platforms they got information on from Europe, and they compared and basically made statistics out of it. So this is one map which shows the volumes of the crowdfunding activity. So again, the first circle is like UK, second is Central Europe and Sweden, and third is Estonia, Finland, and Spain. So this is the absolute volumes, not per capita volumes. So it's even larger. And the gray area is where there's too little data, so they didn't put it there. So this is one, and this is the equity volume. And actually, this brings us to the second part, that there's not only rewards platform, but there's also different types of platform now, both the equity being one of the largest groups, meaning like funding companies. When you give money, you get the shares of the company in return. And they started in about 2011, was the first one in UK. And this is the volume of the equity crowdfunding or the company's funding going up. And this is the graph made for Estonia. These are all the platforms currently active in Estonia. So it's our platforms are Hooain and Fundwise, which is this rewards and equity section. And this is a couple of others. This is for sportsmen, and these are for like pure donation projects. And these are the consumer lending and business lending platforms. So, and this is also the quote from the Cambridge report is this: the UK side, Estonia celebrates fintech hub ranked first in Europe in alternative finance per capita. So basically in the continental Europe, we have the biggest concentration of this kind of funding, of meaning the platforms and the projects going through them. And yeah, so here is the contrast is quite good. Actually, there's a world map in gray underneath it, but it's not visible here. So basically, this is a distribution of our user base or investor base in the other platform in Fundwise, which we launched about a year ago. And we currently have funded a bit over €500,000 worth. And this is graph is a bit old, 10 projects now. And for example, the first game projects we funded in the company's funding is Rogue Ambassador, which was one of the first projects that got funded in the platform. And second one was Overstep game, which got €60,000, and the minimum target was €22,000. So what they gave away, they gave a share of the company away for that. And this is their site, and this is their Facebook page, and you can see they have about 8,600 likes, which is the user base they use to kind of promote the campaign. So they made quite good use of their already existing fan base, although they hadn't launched the game yet when they came to us. And actually, equity crowdfunding, there's not that much game companies happening, so we are maybe the only equity crowdfunding platform in the world that has accepted game companies, and not the two are now funded. And this is the view from if you put your company up, that's you as administrator see it. So basically these graphs are the amount of people in blue line and the amount of money raised in orange line. So someone might ask why this thing here, why one peak and other. So this is actually where the campaign was supposed to end, but we didn't end it here because there was a Brexit. And some of the investors bailed out because of Brexit. So we gave an extension of, I don't remember, 10 days for the campaign, so they could get the campaign. So they had like 2 peaks of the ending, which didn't come, and then the real end of the campaign. So and they got about twice the amount of money thanks to this extended deadline. So any questions so far? Everything is clear. That's good. So I'm sure how the currently the Fundwise site looks like. So we have different types of games here, and we currently have the investor base of 7,000 investors from 70 countries using it. And I don't know if we have all types of campaigns, but this is the Overstep game, for example. And what you can see if you look into it, you can see also that they gave away from 2 to 7% of the company for the investors for the 60,000. And why this range? Because they offered from 22 to 70,000. So depending on how much they raised, that's the percentage they gave away of the company. So it's very kind of minute share. So actually they gave out like maybe 0.1% of share per person who invested. Not they obviously invested in different amounts, but so, and that is basically the background story of the company and the kind of profile of what's the revenue model and so on. So basically, I think in the gaming industry, the equity crowdfund is quite underused in the sense of there's too few games who do campaigns in this way. There's lots who have done campaigns in the rewards way, but not that many that have done it in giving shares for fans or trying to get fans to be shareholders. So this is one of the things we try to promote. Actually, one of our friends is running a game accelerator in Kuala Lumpur, and all the game founders. So when the game founders, the companies come to game founders, they also established Estonian limited company and take the e-residency cards, so they can run remotely the company in Estonia and distribute the shares in our legal space. So it would be easier across borders, and that's also one of our kind of key things we want to achieve, is that it's electronically easy to move this kind of mini shares or whatever, 1% or 0.1% of shares between the user base. No, it could also be distributed in the team or in the fan base. So basically to later distribute profits if the game makes it. So that's with this one. I'm thinking if there's something more for our step. So yeah, and there's also this page for all the investors they got. So they got through that 57 investors at the end. They also did some out of the web promotion. They took a list of their basically the top list of businesses they thought might be interested in them, and kind of went face-to-face meeting. And so they got like basically check signed or the money distributed during this. So they got 2 big investors out of it. So by going face-to-face with businessmen. So this is also one kind of tactics that you can use. So checking if I had, this is one other company. Just example of other types of companies we fund. This is one electric bike company we funded a year ago called Ample Bikes, which now was selected the best electric bike in the world in March. And these are some examples of the kind of classical funding platforms, and on top of also the establishment years. But the point is that the question is not that I'm promoting either Hooandja or Fundwise as a platform, but I'm saying that if you want to do a crowdfunding campaign, make very clearly why do we want to use this or that platform. In a sense of it might be not useful for you to go for example, to Kickstarter, because it's you might find a better audience using some other, like your home country platform or some other platform. So think very clearly, or whether you want to use rewards or equity. So actually, the Apple bike was also here because of the example that when they came to us, they had produced, kind of hand-produced 6 bikes. And they came to us, they got 90,000 euros as an investment through our platform from 85 people, I think. And they did the first mass production, did the rebranding, and did the campaign on Indiegogo after that, which was a reward campaign, and basically they sold it across the world after that. So it's an example of how they use both equity and rewards funding in different stages of the development to get their things going. And yeah, this is the University of Cambridge Center for the Alternative Finance. So if you want to find some better background research on it, then they are the best in the world currently. So we also contribute to their data on the funding side. So thanks. So if there's any further questions.
Well, first off, round of applause.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions from the audience? One in the back, one here. Here, let me just.
Statistically speaking.
Let me give you the mic, if you don't mind. Just.
Well, I can yell.
No, we'll find that for you.
All right. So, statistically speaking, which has had more success, successive projects established, like a regular crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding, which has more successful projects?
You mean percentage-wise?
Of course.
Percentage-wise,
I'm not asking for like one.
They are quite close, actually. They are. They're both in the 70% range currently in our 2 platforms. But on the equity one, it's kind of too early to tell, in the sense we have only run it for a year. So we see it in the long run how it works. But for example, in Finland, which has had a bit longer run on the equity one, their success rate is in the 35% range. So it's about twice lower than ours. But they have run like hundreds of campaigns. So usually you could say that equity is lower than rewards, but no, it depends on the platform.
So my question is about the investors that use your this Fundwise. How is their number growing, and do you retarget new projects to the old investors as well? Or
yeah, we do both. Basically, we send all the new projects to all investors, not like the 7,000 we have now. Plus, we try to find their niche, or not basically recommend them to use their own lists and to distribute their project, which is targeting, let's say, if it's game project, obviously, they should target their forums and their kind of places where the people who are interested in it hang out, and or do social media campaigns. So basically, we also do our own social media campaigns. So, for example, in Hooainda, there's about 20,000 people who see the new project that goes live by default, in the sense of they don't have to do anything because we do the campaign, the part of the campaign anyway for them. But we recommend them to go to the media and kind of push them to do different things.
I don't remember whether you did those sponsored campaigns with Hooainda as well, or do you do them now? So do you invest also in your campaigns when you do them, like for this Fundwise or Hooainda?
Yeah, we both put money in the social media, both in Fundwise and Hooainda. So we push the campaigns anyway. Whatever the campaign makers do, we push them anyway.
Just one question about conversion. So if a game developer promotes it through, say, Facebook, how easy is it for those people to turn into investors in your platform?
There's this conversion rate is also, we're always quite small in the sense of the funnel. There's lots of people drop off at different stages of like how many come to the, let's say, Facebook, how many click to the site, how many look at the campaign, how many click invest. And maybe also sign up to the site if they're first time here. And we try to make it as low as possible. Obviously, the equity investment is a bigger barrier than rewards, in the sense of, because you're taking a long-range commitment. You're putting money in and you get a share in return, which is also legally binding agreement. So this is a more complex one, because in the rewards, usually I just give a donation and receive maybe a poster or something. So it's not very long commitment, and it's like once. So when the project is over, it's forgotten. But this runs for years. So there's also a kind of longer range commitment which has to be taken into account. And there's also the shareholders agreement and things we have templates for, that when you do it, then everybody signs the shareholders agreement, and we also try to facilitate that it's kind of as seamless as possible, but obviously it's more complex than just doing click donate and it's done.
Any more questions?
And we also try to use the e-residency system of Estonia to kind of promote it. We promote to all existing e-residents. There's about 15,000 of them in 120 countries. And second, we also promote to the investors who come to us that if they want to do it more easily, they should become e-residents, so it's more seamless.
So thank you for your speech. It was very interesting. My question is, most of your graphics are based on the figures that was collected in 2015 year. Does any trends changed maybe in the 2015 years on this Fundwise project? Most of companies were connected with, I don't know, handmade, all these bicycles, and maybe now in 2017 most of projects are connected with games or VR or machine learning.
So the question is if the type of companies change during the time.
Maybe some new trends, new fashion or somehow.
No, I wouldn't say so. It's just because it's so new, the equity one. I mean, it's just lots of people are just finding out about us now, like 1 year later, because it's kind of awareness raising of this option. So there's lots of companies turning to us, although we have been running for over a year. So now we have basically 7 projects which should be go live in the next couple of months in the pipeline, but the type-wise, I wouldn't say that much changed. I think the most popular in this format are the kind of product design companies making something concrete. So it's like something like the electric bike or the handmade cider or some kind of physical project which is easily understandable and easily kind of presentable. Is one thing, and the other is kind of technical projects, which are maybe a kind of web system or a game or something like that. So these are the 2 main categories, you could say. There's also some energy projects or renewable energy that's been coming to us lately, but as we haven't launched any of them yet, it's kind of too early to tell. And one thing we are offering also is that we build custom funding platforms for our partners. So we could use basically white label our platform to say that this is, let's say, this incubators platform powered by Fundwise. So this is one of the new things we are doing now.
Hi. What level of, or the games that go to crowdfunding, how
Mature are they in the sense of development?
Yeah, exactly.
They are quite, they can be quite early stage. For example, this Arbits project I showed in the rewards was basically they had just done the first kind of sketches and screenshots when they came to us. So in the rewards, usually it's earlier. In the equity, it's a bit later, because in the equity you already have to have some kind of established company and have something to show for. So it's at least the kind of prototype of a game or something. So you could say, yeah, in the rewards earlier stage, in equity a bit longer, later stage.
That didn't you give that one example of the company who did it the other way around, or did I misunderstand?
You mean the bike company?
Oh, was it the bike company?
Yeah, the bike company was an exception to the norm. Yeah, they did it the other way around. The Ampler bikes did the campaign in equity first and reward second. But no, the question was the reason why they did it. This is the Ampler bikes. Why they did it was that they in the equity one they targeted mostly Estonian investors. And that's the reason why they did it in Fundwise. And second, in the rewards, they did it for the advertisement campaign for selling it in the States and in the basically rest of the world. So it was kind of the pre-sale was in Indiegogo, and the equity one was the kind of first investment to get the company going.
Okay, thank you.
But usually it's the other way around. So rewards first and equity second.
Any more questions? Henri, thank you very much.
Thanks.